I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this, especially not by someone I married, someone I trusted with everything. My name is Jack, and I'd spent years building my business from the ground up. Started with nothing, poverty, dead-end jobs, the whole 9 yards. But I had a vision, and I was relentless. My wife, Emily, was supposed to be my partner through all of it, or so I thought. We met in college. She was fiery, bitchy, full of attitude, always had a quick comeback, always knew how to push my buttons. But she was also smart, ambitious, and I thought that's what made us work. We got married after I finally hit a big break with my startup. Things moved fast, and to be honest, I was proud of what we'd achieved together. I thought she was proud too. At first, everything seemed fine. She'd brag about my success to her friends, act like she was my biggest supporter. But slowly I started noticing little things. She'd be late for dinner more often, claiming she was tired or busy at work, but her phone was always glued to her hand, texts, social media, random notifications that she'd quickly hide if I looked her way. She'd get defensive if I asked about her day, brush off my questions with a snide remark or a fake laugh. Then came the arguments. Small at first, nothing too serious, just her snapping at me for no reason, calling me paranoid when I asked if she was seeing someone else. She'd say I was being insecure, that she loved me, that I was imagining things. But I had this gut feeling. You know that feeling when your mind starts to unravel and everything just feels off. That was me. It kept gnawing at me, making me restless. One day I caught her in a lie. She told me she was working late but was seen at a bar with her coworker, Jason. I didn't confront her then, just kept quiet and watched. She came home that night acting innocent, but I noticed her phone was missing. When I asked her about it, she snapped at me, told me I was overreacting, that I was turning into a jealous psycho. But I knew better. Something was happening, I just didn't know what. The more I looked, the more I found. Small things, random texts late nights, her changing her passwords. I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my wife was cheating on me. It wasn't just paranoia. There was something real underneath all her lies. And then, one evening, I found the biggest piece of evidence that cracked everything wide open. I was in her email, meant to check her work stuff, and I saw a draft of a letter she was writing, one that was supposed to be a heartfelt apology to someone named James. My heart stopped. The timing, the tone, she was about to confess something, something intimate enough to make me throw up. I read the draft, and it wasn't just an apology. It was full of details about their meetings, what they did together, how they snuck around. And there, in black and white, was her describing their secret encounters, their sex, her gloating about how good it was to finally be with someone who truly understood her. I couldn't believe it. That moment changed everything. It was like my entire world exploded. She was cheating on me with her biographer, a guy who had been documenting my rise from poverty to success for his own romantic fantasy. How the hell did I miss all of this? How did I not see the signs? I felt numb, angry, betrayed all at once. I'd poured my soul into that marriage, into building a future, and she was out there, screwing someone else, living her little fantasy. It was supposed to be our life, our shared story. Instead, her story was merging our bedroom and boardroom into some twisted romance that I wasn't part of anymore. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew that nothing would be the same after tonight. I sat there for a long time after I found that draft, just staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd just read. It was like my mind was racing a million miles an hour, yet my body was frozen. I kept telling myself it had to be some kind of mistake, some misinterpretation. But deep down, I knew better. That draft wasn't a mistake. It was her truth, laid out in black and white. I remember feeling this strange mix of heartbreak and rage. The betrayal cut so deep I could barely breathe. I had trusted her with my life, with my secrets, with my future. And now I saw her describing her affairs, her intimate details with this guy James, as if I was just some background character in her fantasy. That hurt more than I ever thought possible. She lied to me for months, maybe longer, and I had no idea. I closed her email and sat there, feeling the weight of it all. My hands were trembling. My mind was spinning with questions. How long had this been going on? Was she planning to leave me? Or was she just cheating out of boredom, out of some sick need to feel alive? I didn't know. All I knew was I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I had to confront her. The next step was obvious. I needed to see her face to face. I waited until she got home from her late night at work, which she kept claiming was just that. I was nervous, unsure of what I'd say or how she'd react. But I couldn't hold it in any longer. I needed truth, and I needed it now. When she pulled into the driveway, I was already waiting in the living room. My arms crossed, my face cold. She looked surprised, maybe even guilty when she saw me. She tried to smile, but it was forced, fake. I knew her too well now. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but low. Her face changed instantly. The bitchy attitude I'd seen before resurfaced as she threw her head back and scoffed. "What now, Jack? Don't you think you're overreacting? I've been working late, remember? Maybe if you weren't so paranoid, you'd see I'm just trying to do my job." She was clearly lying, but I didn't bother pointing it out right away. I just let her talk, watching her squirm. "You've been lying," I said flatly. "I found your draft. I read what you wrote about James, about how you've been screwing him behind my back. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "Oh, please, you're making a big deal out of nothing. That's just some stupid fantasy I was writing. It doesn't mean anything. I was venting, okay? No big deal." "You're so insecure, insecure." I cut her off. "You think betraying me, cheating on me with your biographer is just some fantasy? You think I don't see what's happening? You've been lying and sneaking around, and I'm supposed to just accept it." Her eyes narrowed. "You're overreacting. It's none of your business. I don't know what you want me to say." I took a deep breath, trying to control my anger. "What I want is honesty. Tell me the truth. Are you sleeping with this guy James?" She hesitated, then finally shot back with a laugh. "You really want to know? Yeah, I've been sleeping with him." "Big deal, Jack. It's not like I don't love you. I just needed something more, something exciting. You've been so busy with your stupid business, you haven't even noticed I was miserable." That hit me like a punch in the gut. She was cold about it, almost proud of her betrayal. I felt my stomach tighten and my fists clench. I'd never felt so humiliated. My wife, my partner, was out there fucking someone else, and she didn't even care. That moment, her cocky attitude, her blatant lies, they all made me realize I was just a fool for trusting her. I wanted to break something, to scream at her, but I held back. Instead, I told her she needed to leave. I couldn't be near her right now. I needed space to breathe and process what had just happened. She looked surprised, maybe even annoyed, but she finally muttered something about being tired of this drama and grabbed her purse. She threw a parting shot at me. "You'll regret pushing me away, Jack. You're too blind to see what we could have had." As she walked out the door, I watched her go, feeling like the biggest idiot alive. I thought about everything I'd sacrificed for her, how I'd poured my heart into that marriage. And all I got in return was this betrayal. Her cheating, her lies, her arrogance. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact she'd cheated or how she dismissed it like it was nothing. I was left standing there, broken and furious, realizing my whole life had just been turned upside down in a matter of hours. The next few days were a blur. I don't even remember exactly how I managed to get through them. Part of me wanted to call her, to scream at her, to demand answers. The other part just wanted to crawl into some dark hole and never come out. I kept replaying everything I'd read, every lie she'd told, every moment I missed, every sign I ignored. It was like a punch to the gut every time I closed my eyes. The thing that really stuck with me was her attitude. She didn't seem remorseful, didn't seem to care that she just shattered everything we built. Instead, she acted like she was the victim, twisting everything around, making herself out to be the wronged wife. That bitchy, dismissive attitude, that's what made me angriest. Because deep down, I knew she'd always been like that, even when she was pretending to be this caring partner. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me or spin her lies. I needed the truth, plain and simple. I reached out and told her to meet me at the coffee shop around the corner. She agreed, probably expecting me to beg, to cry, or to try and fix things. But I had other plans. When she showed up, I didn't hold back. I laid everything out, how I'd found her draft, the texts she'd sent, their secret meetings, her lies. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some naive fool anymore, that I knew exactly what she'd been up to. She sat there, arms crossed, rolling her eyes, throwing out those typical dismissive excuses. "You're crazy, you're jealous. It's just sex. You don't understand us." She even had the nerve to call me insecure and accuse me of spying on her because I cared. I felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. The anger was overwhelming. I wanted to shake her, to tell her she was a selfish bitch who threw everything away for a quick thrill. The sadness was deeper, though. That was the realization that the woman I loved, the woman I married, had been nothing but a lie. She was a manipulator, a liar, someone who thought she could cheat her way out of her problems and still keep me around. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I saw her for what she was. I asked her directly if she loved James, if she planned to leave me for him. Her eyes flickered for just a second, and then she smirked. "Honestly, Jack, I do. Care what you believe anymore. I'm done pretending. I don't love you. I never did the way you thought. James makes me feel alive. You've been so wrapped up in your stupid business you didn't even see how miserable I was. Well, now I'm free, and guess what? I don't give a damn about what you think." That hit me hard. She was so cold, so dismissive. I felt a sinking feeling in my chest, like my entire world was collapsing. I knew then I couldn't stay with her, not anymore. The woman I thought I married was dead. All that was left was this shell of a person who was more interested in her own pleasure than in honesty or loyalty. I decided I needed to get out of there to clear my head. I told her she could take whatever she wanted from the house, that I didn't want to see her again anytime soon. I was in shock, numb, trying to hold back tears. I just wanted her gone. That day, I felt like I was losing not just my wife but my entire future. Everything I'd worked for felt meaningless now. I'd spent years building my empire, only for it to be overshadowed by her betrayal. As she left, she threw one last snide remark over her shoulder. "You're too blind to see what we could have had, Jack, but I don't care. I'm done pretending to be the good wife. Now I'm finally free." I watched her walk out that door, her heels clicking on the floor, feeling a mix of fury and despair. I realized I'd been a fool to believe in her, to trust her. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. She was just a bitchy, manipulative liar who had been using me all along. And now, I had to find a way to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. The aftermath of her leaving hit me harder than I expected. I spent the first few days just wandering around the house, looking at everything we'd accumulated together: photos, little mementos, even her clothes. It all felt like a cruel joke now. The woman who once claimed she loved me, who said she'd stand by my side no matter what, was gone, replaced by her cold, bitchy attitude and a new reality I wasn't prepared for. My friends told me I needed to file for divorce to cut her out completely. Honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready for that step yet. Part of me still hoped she'd come back, that it was all some awful mistake, but deep down I knew better. I saw her true colors, and there was no fixing this. She made her choice, and I had to accept it, even if it tore me apart. The hardest part was the emotional roller coaster. One moment I was furious. How could she do this? How could she just toss everything away like it was nothing? The next, I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness, mourning the woman I thought I knew, mourning the future I'd planned. I kept replaying her words, her sneers, the way she dismissed everything that mattered. It made me sick to my stomach. I also started digging into her phone. Yeah, I know, invasion of privacy, but at that point I was desperate. I had to know if she was still seeing James, if she was planning to move on without me. And sure enough, I found more evidence. Texts exchanged late into the night, inappropriate pictures, and even plans for the next time they'd meet. She wasn't hiding it well anymore. She wanted the world to know she was done with me, and James was the new chapter in her life. That discovery made my blood boil. I felt betrayed all over again. I wanted to confront her, but I held back. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what I was going to do next. The thought of her with another man, living her new life, made me feel sick. But I also knew I couldn't keep holding on to hope that she'd come back or change her mind. She was too far gone. In the midst of all this chaos, I made a decision. I've been working so hard on my business, pouring every ounce of my energy into it. Maybe that's what really saved me, focusing on the one thing I still had control over. I threw myself into work, shoving down the pain, the betrayal, and the heartbreak. It wasn't easy, but I knew I had to reclaim myself. I started staying late at the office, hiring new people, pushing my company even further. I wanted to prove to myself that I was still capable, still strong. But even with all that, I couldn't escape the feeling of emptiness. Every so often, I'd catch myself staring at my phone, expecting her to call or message, hoping she'd realize what she lost. But she didn't. She was too busy living her new life with James, probably laughing at how she'd broken me. That thought made me hate her even more, not just for the affair, but for the way she dismissed everything we once had. Then came the moment I finally decided to move forward. I sat down and drafted the divorce papers, knowing it was the only way to truly cut ties. I didn't want her back, not after everything. I wanted my peace, my dignity, and a future that wasn't tainted by her lies. It was a tough choice, but I knew I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her betrayal. Looking back now, I realize that this experience has changed me. It's made me see how fragile trust is, how easily it can be shattered by someone you thought you knew. But it's also taught me resilience. I'm not the same man I was before. I've learned that sometimes the people you love the most can hurt you the deepest, and you have to find a way to pick yourself up again. If I could give anyone advice from this mess, it's this. Trust your instincts and don't ignore the signs of someone's dishonesty. When something feels off, dig deeper. And most importantly, never let betrayal define you. You're stronger than the pain, and someday you'll look back and realize that you survived because you refused to give up. After I finalized the divorce papers, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with lingering anger. It was like I'd finally taken control of my life again, but the wounds from her betrayal still stung. Every morning, I woke up with a heaviness in my chest, knowing I'd lost not just a wife, but also the future I'd envisioned with her. Still, part of me knew I had to move on, because staying stuck in that misery would only destroy what was left of my sanity. I threw myself even harder into my work. The business really took off during those months. It was my anchor, a distraction from the pain, and a way to rebuild my confidence. I started traveling more, speaking at conferences, meeting new people who didn't know about the disaster at home. Slowly, I started feeling like I was reclaiming my life piece by piece, but I couldn't fully escape the thought of her. That bitchy, dismissive attitude she had, the way she looked at me like I was some kind of fool. It was a constant reminder of how badly I'd been played. One evening, I decided to confront her one last time, if only to get some closure. I reached out, asking her to meet me. To my surprise, she agreed, acting like everything was just fine. She showed up with that same confident smirk, jeans tight, makeup perfect, like she owned the place. I could see right through her, though. She was trying to act like she didn't care, but I knew she was nervous underneath. We sat across from each other in that little cafe. I was calm but firm. I told her I knew about everything, the texts, the meetings, James. Her face twitched a little, but she quickly recovered her bitchy attitude. "Jack, you're wasting your time. It's over. You need to move on just like I already have." I shook my head. "No, Emily, I need you to be honest. Do you love him? Are you planning to leave me for him?" She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Love, please, that's not how it works. I don't love anyone. I do what makes me happy. You should try it sometime. You might find life's easier when you stop obsessing." Her words felt like a slap. She dismissed everything like it was nothing, like she was the victim in all of this. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I pressed her further. "You're not just screwing him, are you? You're planning to leave me for him, aren't you?" She leaned back, crossing her arms, her eyes narrowing. "Jack, I don't owe you explanations. I told you I'm done. I don't care what you think or what you want. I've moved on, and if you can't accept that, that's your problem." That was the moment I realized I'd been wasting my breath. She made her choice, and she didn't care about me. That cold, bitchy attitude was her true self, selfish, manipulative, and completely indifferent to the pain she'd caused. All I felt then was a strange mix of anger and sadness. Anger that I'd been so stupid to trust her, and sadness that I'd loved someone who cared so little. I stood up, telling her to take her stuff and go. I told her I didn't want her in my life anymore, that I'd move on without her. She looked surprised for a second, then her face twisted into that familiar smirk. "Good luck, Jack. You're going to need it," she said, walking away like she'd just won some battle. Watching her leave, I realized I'd finally hit rock bottom. But oddly, that was the moment I knew I had to rebuild. From the ashes of betrayal, I was going to come out stronger. I'd learned that some people, no matter how much you love them or trust them, are just not worth the pain. And I'd also learned that I was capable of surviving this, more than surviving actually. I was going to thrive without her, without the lies, without the betrayal. It was time to focus on myself, because if I didn't, I'd never heal. Weeks turned into months, and with each passing day, I felt more like myself. The pain hadn't completely gone away. Some nights, I'd still lie awake replaying everything, wondering how I missed the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. But those nights grew fewer and I began to rebuild my confidence. I threw myself into my work, traveled, met new people. I'd be lying if I said I was completely healed, but I was better, stronger. Looking back now, I realize how much I learned from all of this. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, so deep that it can change who you are. But I also learned that you have to take control of your life, even when the world feels like it's crumbling beneath you. I refused to let her victory be complete. I refused to be her victim forever. Instead, I chose to focus on what I still had, my business, my future, my dignity. I don't harbor any illusions anymore. I don't think I'll ever forget what she did, but I do forgive myself for trusting her once. That trust was a mistake, sure, but I won't let it define me. What it did do was teach me a lesson, one I'll carry for the rest of my life. Never ignore the warning signs, and never stay in a relationship that's built on lies. Now, I'm not with anyone. I have no interest in rushing into something new. Right now, I just want to enjoy my freedom, my independence. I want to make sure I don't lose myself again. And honestly, I've come to realize that I don't need someone to complete me. I was enough all along. If there's anything I want to tell others out there who might be going through something similar, it's this: trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right, dig deeper. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you love someone. And if they turn out to be a liar or a cheat, walk away. Because staying only prolongs the pain and makes it harder to heal. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also opens your eyes. It shows you who really matters, what you truly deserve, and how resilient you are. I've learned that surviving betrayal isn't just about moving on, it's about growing stronger from it. And now, I know I'll never let anyone tear me down that way again. I've got my life ahead of me, and I'm going to make damn sure it's worth living, without her, without the lies, and without the bullshit. Because whatever doesn't kill you makes you better.